So on this cut here, we're doing a 1.5 wavelength. We're going to go with the grain here, and we're going to give them a nice light fade with like a 1 guard on the side. So we're starting out with this wavelength on top, and I'm using my magic clips, but they're bogging down, and they always do. So I switched to the clippers that come in the Inspire Barber Kit because I've found these things to cut really smoothly, and they don't bog down at all. So you can see we're following the grain of the hair here, working that hair forwards, trying to lay that hair down. If you were to go the opposite way, it would kind of make that hair all stick up. So you want to follow the grain here, and you can see as it goes around the back of the head, it spirals around, because if you look at the cowlick there, it's spiraling around. So you want to just follow the way that that hair grows, working your way around, working from the front of the head, and getting all that hair laid down on top so we could try to start fading them on the sides. So before we do anything else, we're going to throw some of that juice in here. And what this is going to do is it's going to lay down his hair. It's going to give him a nice light shine. It's going to make his hair kind of crispy, and it's going to lay his edge up down. So all them little baby hairs that were sticking up are now going to be laid down. But once you put this product in, you should blow dry this product. And this is going to really lock your edge up into place. Lock all them little hairs down so they're not moving. And it's going to help you fade and line up better. Once that juice is in, we're going to start fading him up. We got a 1.5 guard on here. And now we did a 1.5 with the grain on the top of the head and the sides, but this is against the grain, so it's going to cut it a little bit shorter. So we're going 1.5 closed here, and we're just trying to clear out a nice little medium range space with this 1.5 because our customer is just trying to get a nice light fade. And this 1.5 up against the grain should blend pretty easily into our 1.5 with the grain that we did on top of the head. You can see that's almost blended already. A little bit of a 2 above that will help that out. So once we smooth out this 1.5, we're good to go here, and we could start going to fade underneath of it. So we're going to put that 1.5 away, and we're going to put our 1 guard on, and we're keeping it closed here. And we're just trying to scrub out the bottom of this sideburn so that we could start fading the bottom of this hair up into that 1.5 area that we just did. So because we did that 1.5 area above this 1 guard is flicking and blending perfectly up in without creating any marks. Once we fade him out with our 1, our edge up is at the perfect length to start lining him up. So we're going to start putting his C curve in here, working the corner of that blade, angling that blade up, and then connecting it into the top of that C curve. And this thing is going in really nicely, and we're not getting any movement. 1, because the length of the hair is at the perfect length, around a 1.5, and that's going to create a nice sharp lineup without a lot of movement. But also, because we put that juice in earlier, it really locked this edge up into where these hairs are not moving around a lot. Whenever you're dealing with gray hair, it gets a lot thicker and it's a lot more unruly. So that juice is really going to lock you in place, and it really helped me get my lineup down pat without having to go over it so many times. So we're working in the front of this hairline here, but you can see his corners are light. So we're just going to keep them corners natural and kind of take out the centerpiece here. This centerpiece is all your eyes are going to go to, so we're going to make sure it's really crispy and straight in the front, and we're not worrying about the corners. So we're going to continue that lineup around the back of the neck here, and because this is a nice 1 fade, we're able to get a nice clean lineup around the ears and on the back of the neck. So moving on to this other side, we're going to repeat this process by blending downwards with the grain with our 1.5 here. And once we work that 1.5 down and that ridge is nice and smooth, we can start to come up with that 1.5 now and do the same thing we did on the other side, creating a nice little line with our 1.5. And then you can also come back down here. So you can go up with a 1.5 and then down with a 1.5. And that's going to help you blend that ridge that you're creating in. It's going to help connect it together there. And whatever that doesn't connect with, we're going to switch to our 2 guard. This 2 guard is going to help blend that ridge up into our 1.5. And it's going to connect that fade and extend it up in. So now we're not going to have that heavy weight that our 1.5 just created. And that's a nice, easy, smooth blend for you. A 1.5 up into a 2, which is going to give us a bunch of space underneath to start fading and doing our 1 guard. So we got our 1 guard on here, and we're scrubbing the sideburn out, not going up too high. We're working against the grain, just trying to smooth out and fade the bottom of this hair here. We can work our way downwards with this one guard as well. So if you remember, we did 1.5 up and then 1.5 with the grain, and we can do the same thing with a one guard. All we're doing is smoothing that hair downwards after we push it up when we're fading. So every time you swipe upwards, it moves that hair in an upward motion, and then you have to either brush it downwards or use with the grain motions to lay that hair back down. Moving to the back of the neck here, we already did our one guard, so we're going to switch to our 16th here. So we want to fade the back of this neck out in a nice rounded shape. We are trying to keep our edge up on the edges, so we're using a 16th instead of no guard, and then we're going to come through and fade out the bottom of this and blend this up in with our one guard. This is going to complete our fade in the back and connect it all the way around. Now that we got him faded, our edge up is at the perfect length again to line up. So we're going to start lining up this vertical bar here, keeping it nice and natural. We definitely don't want no pushbacks here, especially for the older guys. And then once we get that straight bar downwards, we're gonna get our starting point right here on that front temple area. So we're going to start by just making this front little line, and then we're going to connect that up into our C curve. So you want to kind of get your starting point at the temple area, and then get your width of your sideburn, and then connect that up in by turning that blade and just etching away with the corner of your blade. You can see we're just kind of etching away, cleaning up that hair around the edge up, and then trying to keep the pushback minimal. So after we got them lined up, we're going to come through with our straight razor here, and we're just stretching the skin and working that little bit of area directly in front of that lineup. You got to think about it. Most of these hairs, if you're not giving them a bad pushback, there's only a couple hairs that should be in front of that lineup that need straight razored. So just remember, you don't want to waste a ton of time straight razor, and it should only take a couple strokes in the right place to get the job done and give you that desired crispy lineup that you're looking for.